Yeah, and so I guess the writers of the Hebrews, that's what, going back to the faithfulness yet creativity, that's what they're wrestling with. The whole New Testament is wrestling with, aren't they, in epistles, and how do we understand and put words into Jesus, like Jesus as revealed, as as fully divine, fully human. I mean, they weren't words, they kind of, they were wrestling with this, weren't they? And so they were using Old Testament a lot in a new frame, in a sense, to try and articulate that. And you mentioned this, you give some examples. Just talk to us a bit about that, about the use of the Old Testament in Hebrews to try and kind of explain, articulate why Jesus should be worshipped, really, wasn't it, at its heart?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is so incredible about the New Testament is a way in which there are various Old Testament strands that if you're just kind of reading through from Genesis, from start to finish, and you don't, maybe you don't know about Jesus, you're not necessarily going to kind of connect those things together. But then there's just this real beauty to the way in which when Jesus is born, and through his life and through his death, his resurrection, his ascension, the hope of his future return, you see that all of these strands that look like they were kind of not entirely disconnected, but also quite separate, like are fully fulfilled in the person and work of Jesus. So I think, the examples that I just mentioned is priest and sacrifice. You have this sense in the Old Testament of both sin being so significant, human rebellion against God being so significant, that God in his great holiness isn't just going to kind of going to brush human evil under the carpet as if it didn't matter. And so there is this kind of concept of sacrifice, concept of atonement that comes in. And then there's also the concept of a priest. Human beings are fallen, and so in the midst of a fallen humanity, you need some representatives who perhaps have a slightly different standard, and they need to kind of offer these sacrifices to God, as God's sacrificial system is God's gift as a way of kind of maintaining relationship with his people. And then in the author of Hebrews is sort of saying, well, Jesus is both of those things. He's the perfect sacrifice and the perfect priest. And you wouldn't necessarily have thought to put those two things together in the Old Testament. But the New Testament authors, reflecting on the person and work of Jesus, suddenly see that both of these motifs are perfectly fulfilled in what Jesus does.
And that, even that fact, again, going back to what we just said, blows our minds, doesn't it? Yeah. That, like, how could the sacrifice and the high priest be the same thing? Would have blown the Old Testament mind, wouldn't it? And blows our contemporary minds even more, because we've got to get, first of all, understand the sacrificial system. Yeah. And so I guess one of the things that comes across from your chapter is the need to understand what the scriptures, the Torah, in a sense, to understand fully why Jesus, why is he so central? Why is he to be worshipped, to be glorified? Because he makes sense within this system, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah, no, sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, it's on my mind because I think I mentioned this in the chapter. In the first year, we've introduced a task to the students where we asked them to try and articulate the gospel in a short period of time. Scott McKnight, in his book, The King Jesus Gospel, goes to 1 Corinthians 15 as what he argues is this kind of summary of the apostolic gospel, which, Paul says, this is the gospel that I received, I passed on to you, that Christ died according to the scriptures, and that Christ was raised again according to the scriptures. And I think that according to the scriptures, it's easy to kind of gloss over it as if it's just like a kind of little embellishment, but I think that's absolutely core to Paul's understanding of the gospel, that it is like according to the scriptures, it is a fulfillment of these Old Testament motifs and themes that Jesus has come to fulfill. And so to really understand the fullness of the gospel, it is really important that we kind of begin to immerse ourselves in those Old Testament scriptures and understand those, as well as the New Testament, and how the New Testament authors see those ideas as fulfilled in what Jesus does.